typing your questions into the chat box, or raising your hand with the raise your hand icon, to try to indicate that you have a question, and we can engage those and address those as they come. So restoration. So the Grand Rapids African American Health Institute had a annual health equity index report that they kind of do. And in that report, it showed that 13% of adults in Michigan indicate that they have some type of poor mental health for periods of 2 weeks or more. This data doesn't include youth, and it does not highlight people who indicate that they are mentally healthy but have low to poor mental health, mental well-being.
Yeah, I just used my snow shovel and dragged it over
that
to
being
the
frequent, less than 2 weeks.
road.
So people who might experience
Yuck.
things on a every other day basis, or just periodically just feel down, and just unable to like deal with certain things that happen on in life. So we're kind of here to have that conversation, and also understanding that mental well-being is an aspect of mental health. It is not the same as mental health, and it kind of describes how in tune a person is to cope and manage various situations in life. Furthermore, I kind of want to lay out this like scenario and help everybody kind of get an understanding of why we're having this conversation of restoration around nutrition, restorative sleep, and the linkage to our mental well-being. So I assume that we all eat, rest, and try to get those things attention within a 27-hour period, which is a little bit longer than a typical day. And in this time frame, we experience simple and complex decision making. But I have a question, like how often do we actually reflect on, our sleep and our nutrition and that rest? And how often do we acknowledge like how our bodies feel when we're supplying those things to us? Our bodies are mechanisms which are in constant pursuit of internal homeostasis, which is where our bodies try to make sure that you're in balance, whether it's hormonally, from a chemical standpoint, from a metabolic standpoint, or just as an overall refresher. So bodies are in constant pursuit of just trying to make sure that we're okay and able to tackle those tasks. And so my question is, why aren't we all experts in understanding what our bodies' needs are if we're the first to, be impacted by these things? And so that's what this conversation is essentially about, understanding what our bodies need to sustain a high quality of life through the influence of nutrition and restorative sleep.
Oh.
So before we start, just getting further information about mental wellness, as it is different from mental health. And so there are 7 components to mental wellness. There's a sense of self, which is kind of understanding who you are, having confidence in your ability to do things. There's a sense of purpose, understanding like that you do have a reason for why you're here, and you can be motivated by things to pursue, things that you find that you value. There's emotional health, which is where you're able to kind of have control of your emotions and feelings towards things that you value. There is physical health, which not only deals with how you are as far as from a health aspect, meaning like your body, your physical appearance or muscle, or just overall functionality, but as well as like what you put into your body. And so physical meaning just being able to maneuver on a day-to-day basis without feeling strained. There's also cognitive health, which is being able to decision make, being able to plan, being able to feel comfortable in how you think about things. Then there's kindness, which is your ability to develop relationships and feel comfortable and not feel like you are able to, have relationships with people, and navigate and manage those accordingly. And then the final component of mental wellness is nutrition. So the nutrients that we supply our bodies to help sustain all these various functions. Nutrition is an energy source to us, and it's what gets us through our days. So we don't have our nutrition specialist on here this morning, unfortunately, but we're going to try to have some conversations around how nutrition and mental health, go hand in hand. And how nutrition also can impact our sleep as well. And so we can kind of discuss those things and have a conversation about that. And so, yeah, the first question is, so nutrients are our main source of energy, and can be what we determine, determine how we physically feel. And so just curious, if you all have an opinion on this, can our diets also be a determinant of our mood and our mental function? So if any of you all have a answer to that, feel free to kind of jump in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from a standpoint of we are what we eat. To be honest, it is true that. Oh, sorry. There's a question.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, I can restate the question. I'm sorry, I had them all up, but something happened. But so nutrients are the main source of our energy, and can determine how we feel physically. Can our diets also determine our mood as well as our mental function? Yeah.
Okay. My name's Albert Ho. I'm a pediatric sleep medicine physician at Mercy Health, and with a background in child neurology. And we know that, of course, diet, definitely plays a huge role in our physical health or our mental health, as Miguel has shared, and for sure, from an aspect of from children's standpoint, we know that kids who take in, unfortunately, processed foods or sugary substances, that definitely can influence their mental activity, and even sleep. Coming from a sleep standpoint, sleep can definitely be disrupted by certain foods that we take in, whether it be like even like juice or sodas, and of course caffeine. All these things can impair sleep, and later on, if talk about how sleep, of course, impacts our health as well, but and how poor sleep can then influence our nutrition or ability to be satisfied with our foods, and how that can then lead to perhaps difficulty with obesity and those things if we don't get the proper sleep. So really, it's nutrition's so vital to one of the main building blocks for our health, besides exercise and proper sleep.
Okay, yeah. I want to share a video that I found, and that I've kind of like been studying over the years. It's about our microbiome, and so I'm just gonna play this really quickly, and so we'll kind of discuss what our microbiomes are and how it impacts who we are. So, if the volume doesn't play.
I don't think the sound is playing.
Okay. Let me try to figure out why that might be.
I know when you share the video, you have to change the option for sharing. Like you have to enable the audio too.
Okay. How about now?
Still kind of.
Oh, God.
Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure how to fix that. So I'll just go ahead and I'll skip past that and just kind of describe what the microbiome are. So the microbiome are like our gut bacteria. It's what kind of helps us become immune to certain things, builds up our health. And this is done through like the foods that we put into our bodies. The microbiome also help us develop different aspects of our brains, as far as like making sure that we stay healthy in various aspects of our body. And so, as Dr. Holt kind of talked about, the nutrients that we put into our bodies does impact more than just us from a physical sense. It also impacts our brains, our ability to function, our ability to sleep, and various different ways. And so, unfortunately, we don't have our nutrition experts, so we can't really go too much in detail about that. But microbiomes, they're the gut bacteria that help, just help us, do that. And so we'll try to get more information to you all about that in a later session. But so I'll just go into the next aspect. The next question. So, I don't know what's going on this slides. I'm sorry. So, as far as like sleep, so I know most of you all are psychologists and sleep experts, and so when it comes to our sleep, how does like have you learned anything about how nutrition is impacted, like directly, how sleep is directly impacted by our nutrition?
Yeah, so we know for a fact that people who have trouble getting enough hours of sleep, which depends on, of course, the age of the child and the children. Ideally, so school-age kids should be getting at least minimum of 9, ideally average up to 10 to 12 hours of sleep per night is a typical average that a school-age child should be receiving. And teenagers, of course, need to get at least 8 to even up to 10 hours of sleep, which hardly happens, of course, as well. But anything that in adults, of course, we need somewhere between 7 to 9 hours. That's kind of the average of hours of sleep that we need. So not getting enough these hours of sleep, which for an adult would be less than 6 hours per se, that certainly can impact our hormone balance in terms of being able to be satisfied or full when eating certain foods, and even impacting our decision making in terms of choosing certain foods that are healthier or not so healthy, can be impacted by our inability to get enough hours of sleep. So certainly like insomnia, which affects our ability to fall asleep and stay asleep, can cause us to maybe choose foods that tend to be more fatty or not so healthy for us, and contribute therefore to weight gain, and conversely make it harder for us to lose weight if we have that need to. And so we know that certainly we need sleep for children. At least we need proper sleep to grow, and especially in toddler age, proper sleep is so important for the child to grow, and most of our growth hormones is made during slow wave sleep. So certainly we need proper sleep so that we are able to eat healthy as well.
Would anybody else like to share anything on that by chance?
I think the only thing that I wanted, I definitely echo everything that Dr. Ho stated, but also I think in our Western world, diet is a lot of times high in carbohydrates. Like, right, we intake a lot of carbs. And so recent studies have shown that a high carb intake can also increase the amount of times you wake up in the middle of the night, and it impacts the level of, like, when you get into that REM sleep, that deep sleep that we need to be restored. A high carb diet can impact the quality of sleep that we're getting at night as well. So that's important, with youth. I know that they like to eat snacks and things like that. So cutting out the level of carbs that we're giving, children, teenagers, youth is important as well.
So here I have a list of different categories like sleep disorders, just in case any of the families out there might not be aware of them. And Dr. Hook talked on the first one, which is insomnia, which is essentially just sleep disorders related to trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. I know that's something that's pretty common for a lot of us, including myself. And then there's excessive daytime sleepiness, where people have issues staying awake during the day, being alert to being attentive. There's sleep rhythm problem, which is problems sticking to a regular sleep schedule. During when the pandemic first started, a lot of us had to shift, whether it be shift our work-life balance. And so a lot of us had some difficulties transitioning to being able to try to prioritize sleep, or even as things kind of progressed closer to, as we're looking towards getting away from a lot of these COVID restrictions, like going back to work and engaging in more activities, we have it's become more difficult for us to work through different sleep schedules and try to get our sleep schedule back on track. And then the final one is sleep disruptive behaviors, which is unusual behaviors during sleep. These can include things like sleepwalking, and just abnormal movements during your sleep. And so just wanted to lay those out, those four main categories of sleep disorders. And as we kind of talk more about sleep and its restorative sleep and its relationship to our mental well-being, in case those things are kind of brought up in the conversations. So here we go. So sleep debt and restoration. So the first question that I have for you all relating to this is, what is sleep debt? Can you all kind of talk about sleep debt, if that's a term you're all familiar with?
I can address that. I'm Nicole Scott. I am a clinical psychologist. So sleep debt just describes the difference between how much sleep you need and how much sleep you're actually getting. Then of course, kind of, which we'll talk more about later, kind of the impacts of not getting enough sleep will obviously be greater, kind of the more of a difference there is between how much you need and how much you typically get on an average night.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for that. Anybody else?
Sorry to go piggyback on that. And unfortunately, we all have experienced some degree of sleep debt, and unfortunately with children, that can certainly lead then to the problem with daytime sleepiness if we're as Nicole mentioned, if we're not matching how much we should be getting in our sleep to our reality of how many hours of sleep we're getting, whether it's related to social activities and just responsibilities or work schedules. Certainly sleep debt definitely will play a huge problem in how we feel during the daytime, and whether it's concentration levels and our mood and emotional regulation, and especially for teenagers, this is a huge problem, like mental health and depression and suicide rate and taking risky behaviors. This certainly is a huge problem in our teenagers who don't get enough sleep.
Oh, no. No.